Welcome back to The Explainer. Have you ever faced a wall that's been standing in your way for so long, you've actually started to believe it's just a permanent part of your landscape? Kind of like a bad roommate you literally can't evict? Well, today we're taking a fascinating look at an ancient source text that tackles exactly this. We're diving into a very specific piece of spiritual technology designed to break through those deep, permanent feeling obstacles. It's an ancient frequency known as Lavia. And this text, it doesn't just tell us what it is, it shows us exactly how to use it to finally get that breakthrough. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the anatomy of stuckness, move into the frequency of triumph itself, decode the ancient source code, figure out exactly when to call on Lavia, walk through the actual activation process, and finally, look at how to claim your triumph. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the anatomy of stuckness. So the source text hits us right out of the gate with a really confronting question. What actually happens when an obstacle feels truly permanent? Think about it for a second. According to the text, when a blockage has been sitting right in front of you for a long time, the fear around it literally hardens. Resignation just totally sets in. You stop trying to move it, right? And instead, you start unconsciously rearranging your entire life just to accommodate it. And this brilliantly illustrates the core problem. The text states, and I quote, "Something in you shrinks to the size of the obstacle rather than staying the size of your life." Wow. I mean, it's not just the block itself that's the issue here, it's how our ego's tangled survival mechanism reacts to it. There's this dense, clinging energy that accumulates around the obstacle. Your very identity cramps up to match the cramp of the block. The traction the obstacle has on you, it's actually partly inside you to begin with. Just take a second and think about an area in your own life right now where you might have made yourself smaller just to avoid the friction. All right, moving on to Section 2. Let's officially meet Lavia, the frequency of triumph. Now, let's look at the specific esoteric data and historical attributes that make up this unique code. The name of triumph is transliterated as Lau, with its angelic form being Lauviah. We've got its Hebrew spelling, its gematria value of 43, its connection to the Sephirah of Chakma, which, by the way, is associated with wisdom and sudden flesh-like insight, and its astrological decan in Taurus, from 20 to 25 degrees. So this isn't just some vague, generic concept. The source presents it as a highly specific, targeted frequency designed to literally purify the field around you and banish that hardened fear we just talked about. A really crucial point here is distinguishing between the two different Lavias that actually exist within this 72-name tradition. On one hand, you've got the Clarity Gate Lavia. That one deals with things like dreams, revelation, and healing sadness. But for our explainer today, we're focused strictly on the 11th position Lavia. This one is the direct frequency of victory. The text claims that when this specific code runs, it loosens your ego's tangled sense of survival, and the obstacle itself actually moves, or the ground reshapes so the block is just no longer in your way. It's a total game changer. Which brings us to Section 3, the ancient source code, specifically the Red Sea verses. Reading from right to left in the Hebrew tradition, let's break down how this code actually builds. It's made up of 3 letters drawn directly from the ancient Red Sea verses. First up is Lamed, the tallest letter, which represents this massive upward pull or elevation. Next is Aleph. It's the silent first letter, symbolizing a hidden unity, kind of like that quiet breath right before you make a sound. And finally, we have Vav, which acts as the connector, or the hook, bridging what is above and what is below. The text makes it absolutely clear that these letters aren't just written characters. No, they are literal blueprints for a breakthrough. They pull you up, they center you in silence, and they hook you right back into a higher perspective. To really ground this frequency, the tradition pairs it with a very specific anchor, Psalm 18:47. Now, the source describes Psalm 18 not as some quiet, peaceful prayer, but as a visceral survivor's hymn. It was sung by King David right after escaping a massive, long season of being hunted. And this quote, "Blessed be my rock, and let the God of my salvation be exalted," serves a very specific psychological and spiritual purpose. It reminds the practitioner to completely shift their focus away from the block and instead rest their attention on the rock. That solid ground underneath you that has actually been holding you up through this entire exhausting trouble. It's an incredible psychological anchor. When your mind desperately wants to obsess over the wall in front of you, this verse forces your attention down to the solid rock beneath your feet. Okay, Section 4. When exactly should we call on Lavia? Let's talk about those signs of heavy residue.
So the source outlines a few key indicators for when you need to pull this tool out. You're meant to run this code when you realize you've started organizing your entire life around an obstacle rather than your actual goals. It's absolutely crucial for when fear has basically become the daily texture of your life, or when a stubborn ego pattern, like, constantly insisting on being right, keeps you completely trapped. And remarkably, the Kabbalist noted something totally fascinating here. Long stretches of fear leave a literal heavy energetic residue in physical environments. Have you ever walked into a room right after a massive argument and just felt the tension hanging in the air? Yeah, exactly that. Lavia can actually be used to clear that stagnant, exhausting weight out of a room or a house after a long battle.
Let's get practical in Section 5, the activation process, or the 15-minute protocol. This step-by-step procedure guides you right through the activation. First, you sit in a settled, quiet place and receive the letters. You visualize the Lamed, Aleph, and Vav right to left, and you explicitly ask for elevation within your life, not an escape from it. That's key. Step 2 is to sound the name softly and expansively. La, O, then Lauviah, just riding it on your breath. Next, step 3, you enter the field. You close your eyes, you see the obstacle clearly without dramatizing it, and then you purposefully shift your attention beneath it, really feeling the rock or the ground supporting you. Finally, you seal the code. You stand up, put both feet flat on the ground, and you speak that Psalm 1847 anchor right out loud. And finally, Section 6, claiming your triumph. Let's look at the post-activation shifts. Now here's the reality check. Post-activation, the obstacle doesn't always just magically vanish in a puff of smoke, obviously. Instead, your relationship to it totally reorganizes. Suddenly, that phone call you were completely paralyzed to make, you just make it. A creative block clears up just enough for some real movement to begin. The ground literally reshapes around the problem. The text also gives us a really cool field note. If you need a fresh start immediately after doing this, you can actually pair this with the frequency Vahuya for new beginnings. And if your physical room still feels heavy, the advice is to repeat this activation in that specific space once a day for a full week to clear out all that accumulated residue. As we wrap up this explainer, the source material points out a really strange phenomenon. Sometimes struggles go on for so long that our identities completely wrap around them. The very prospect of the struggle actually ending becomes, honestly, terrifying. So I'm going to leave you with this final, profound question from the text to consider, especially as you step your attention off the block and back onto the rock. Who will you be when this is over? The text answers quietly. You'll be the one standing on the rock, the exact same one you have always been, because the fight was never who you were to begin with.
Thank you for watching. If something in this resonated with you, then you're already closer than you think. If you're ready to go deeper, there's a link below to my book, Quantum Angel Codes, The 72 Hidden Names of God. This isn't theory, it's a framework you can actually use. Tap the link below and step into it.